this is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostyn and Cam Water.
For the first time here for season 3. Davis on pole, Vanderkrant in second. It's going to be sprint round action here tonight. Let's go racing here at Daytona. It was a good start there from Davis in comparison to Vanderkrant in behind. Cowan's absolutely bogged it up and already dropped out of the top 3 here as they come down towards turn 1 for the first time. There's biffing and barging between Gallen and Cowan. These guys are still going at it after last season. They survived for this time by though. Through turn 2 and 3 they come. Nice and clean, boys. Keep it up as they come up to...
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannons insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride,
ride with Shannons.
Call 134646 for a quote.
Through turn 1, it was a horrible start from De Bono. He's absolutely bogged it up and gets eaten alive by Dixon and Gowans as they come on through. Through turn 1 they come, and they all spread out around in towards the first sector of the Silverstone circuit. They look all right at the moment. Okay, there's already been a car spun round. That's Jordan Ferguson off wide.
Is green, green, green at Road Atlanta here as well. Faulkner did get away. De Bono is tucked in as well. Unfortunately, Houghton is on that outside line. De Bono does want to turn it to twos. He's got the job. De Bono's overtaken. Now can he get Ben Faulkner up through turns 2 and 3? They go round the right-hander, dropping down the hill. Faulkner's out in front. De Bono second. Houghton third. Ratcliffe in fourth. No real dramas going into turn 1.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostyn and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Reece Tannock and Jamie Dyke just absolutely drove away from us. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent it up the inside, but he hasn't committed, which is fair enough. It's very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's see if we get a good run. Dodds just absolutely think about it. It's a really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into SRW TV and welcome into round 18 of the F1 Shadow Series brought to you by Cooler Master here for the Singapore Grand Prix, but somehow Detroit, Michigan is now situated in Singapore. I'm commentating tonight, Hamish Munro, bringing you all the action through sight and sound here on the SRW TV channel. Joining me as always is Bradley Hudson. Huddo, big old night of racing, and something that may have caught a couple of drivers out, being reminded that we have actually got an F1 Shadow Series round in between the season. All the hype was on the AOWN. The F1 Shadow Series kind of had a little bit of a backseat in the promotions for the break.
Yeah, good evening, Hamish. A pleasure to be here as always. Yeah, I guess it has. Had to remind a few drivers that we were still going, but I think tonight's going to have a very different feel. Not as much. Pressure is mounted on the drivers, a bit more relaxed. So I'm expecting this race to be a bit more fun than what we've seen previously.
Probably a little bit more of a laid-back broadcast style as well. I mean, being that this is on the replay file, I mean, we were supposed to do it live on Wednesday night, encountered some issues with OBS, fixed the issues over the weekend. We're back for the show here tonight. And, I mean, Belle Isle, what a track it is, Huddo. It's going to be a big old test for these drivers here tonight, the concrete jungle of Detroit, Michigan. It's a test in any car, but in fast-paced open wheelers that absolutely crumble when you look at them wrong, it could be pure chaos, but also pure death for some of these drivers out there tonight if they're not careful.
Yeah, you're correct, Hamish. These things are like tissue paper. Definitely not as bad as the old Formula 3s we used to run, but nonetheless, it'll be an absolute challenge for these guys out there tonight. We haven't raced at too many street circuits, so it's going to be a much different challenge than what the drivers are used to.
Well, do we see any of them, talked about crumbling, do we see any of them crumbling like the Swans did on the weekend, Huddo?
Oh, mate, let's not go there. That's, tough times. But, I'm expecting to see maybe a few surprise results with, the more relaxed approach that we might see tonight. Look, we could see an upset, or we could see a bunch of, our mainstays just stay out the front and have some tight battles between themselves. But nonetheless, it should be an entertaining evening.
Of course, AOWN was the week before this event out at Silverstone, a cracking event, one that I had the absolute pleasure of calling alongside Zach Cabin, and you were there for special comments as well, Huddo. I'm looking forward to the next one. I mean...
Oh, mate, it was a night. It was fantastic. I've been waiting to talk about this for weeks now. I think it's been so long, but it was just a magical night. It had everything. We couldn't have written the script better if we tried. It had just a piece of everything, and congratulations to Sam Chapman for taking that one out from our friends at GSRC. Look, and like yourself, I cannot wait for the next one. I'm pretty sure it's been penciled in already. There's work being done in the background, but yep, I guess we just need to nail that date down and get all the drivers ready for another fantastic race at the end of the season.
I'm sure a couple, I mean, you mentioned couldn't have written the script better. Could have written it better so the SRW driver won, but aside from that...
but it was so exciting.
It really was.
It was absolute heartbreak for us at the SRW stable, but look, it was just from start to finish, it was tight, it was fast, it had everything, and yeah, like I said, I can't wait for the next one. It was fantastic.
Well, of course, as well, now that we've run the first one, Huddo, as well, it will make it a little bit easier for us to get prepared for the second one. We know that, what we have to do, we know what the challenges were that we faced, and it should be a little bit of a smoother process going into the next one. I mean, we know how to run it. People have seen what it's like. It should also actually hype up more and more drivers to actually want to come and participate, to actually want to finish in the top 20 of their respective series, to have an opportunity to get into that grand race at the end of the season and become a part of that spectacle, become a part of the history. I mean, that's what's on offer for them. If they were to get into that top 20, it was a phenomenal race, a phenomenal event, as we mentioned. So many upsets up there. I mean, so many heartbreaks as well. You look at the likes of Mark Gomes and even Scotty Barton for the GSRC side. Then on the SRW side, you look at the likes of Phil Velo and Dylan DeBono as well. And I mean, for every heartbreak, there had to be a rise up the ranks. There had to be someone who had the absolute dream performances, and that came down to Sam Chapman and Dougie Gowans, who found themselves on the podium, and Chapman was the better one on the day. He took the win.
Yeah, like you said, you recapped probably the two biggest moments of the race there. And I guess another shout out to Luthwaite as well. He was hounded by the SRW drivers after the safety car restart, and like for the job he did was fantastic. Unfortunately, he didn't get his strategy right and led him pitting and tumbling down the order. But also kudos to I was trying to think what his name was GSRC.
Jackson Rayhana.
That's it. He had the dropout before the race even started. I think he was starting like P2 or P1.
Yep.
He had the dropout, started from pits, went a lap down. Thanks to the safety car, he got his lap back, and I think he took it all the way from P30 up to about P11. That was a super drive in itself.
Yeah, it was a stellar effort from Jackson Rayhana, proving why he is the best the GSRC brought with them. Of course, he won their title last season, and he was their #1 ranked driver coming into the Australian Open Wheel Nationals. Sam Chapman, his ranking would have gotten a little bit better after actually winning the Australian Open Wheel Nationals, probably seated in the 2 position now in behind Jackson himself. So, but it was a great event. It was a great event nonetheless, and I'm super, super excited for the next one. But to get there, we first have to get through not only tonight for the F1 Shadow Series, but also Season 4 of 2024 for the Cooler Master Super Formula Championship. And it's going to be a massive season ahead. Multiple F1 Shadow Series rounds in amongst that calendar, but also some great events out there, all ending at Daytona with the night race, with the fireworks, under lights. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. Hutto, and do we crown another multiple-time champion, or do we crown a first-ever champion? We've done it. You know, the last 3 seasons, we've gone new champion, and then season 3, we got a 2 times champion in Mr. David Gallo. So it's gonna be interesting.
I think we might see another new champion. I think there's a little bit of talent that's coming across to SRW, and it could shake a few feathers. Like it's going to be last season we saw the tightest we've seen so far. We had 4 drivers going for the title on the very last race. I think next season might be a little bit different in the fact that Vella's coming back from an injury, right? We have a driver by the name of Miguel Crespo. He's signed up. Apparently, I've heard, out there, he's an absolute whip. So if he can take it to Vella, it might be those guys going stroke for stroke. I've also heard whispers of, I guess, cult favourite Michael Carter possibly coming back as well. So could be very, very tight at the top there, Hamish.
Well, of course, the rule is if Carter comes back, he can only come back if he has a microphone. Do we reckon he's got a microphone at this point?
I think he's a monk who just doesn't speak. I don't know until he wins the title, perhaps. I don't know.
Quite possibly, maybe. Yeah, that'll be the first time we ever hear him. He's still yet to win the title race. I also had to look back at some stats, Hutto, as well. We mentioned at the end of last season that Gallo now becomes another multiple-time champion alongside the likes of Phil Velo, Matty Jones. We mentioned Daniel Byrne's name. Daniel Byrne has only ever won the Formula 3 or Super Formula Championship once. He's only a multiple-time champion because of the F1 Shadow Series.
He did go mighty close. I think it was in Season 2 when Gallo got his first crown. I think you had to go back to, it was round 8, it was like Phillip White, Season 1, sorry, correcting. I think there was an incident, like second last race, he just got caught up and it dropped a bunch of points to his teammate, and then Gallo ended up taking that one out. So, look, Byrne's definitely up there as well. He was no slouch. He was in the top 5 coming home last season. He could be another contender for the crown, but like I said, there's so many names that are just reappearing each season at the top. It's just getting tighter and tighter and better. And the best thing is, all the racing, all the prep we do here at SRW, we just carry that forth through the Australian Open Wheel Nationals and look that happened, just 2 weeks ago. How good were our guys? Unfortunately, we didn't get the result that we wanted, but our drivers were outstanding.
They drove exceptionally well, and they raced exceptionally well, represented SRW exceptionally well as well. We've spoken about teams previously, Hutto, of course, Carlin's, DFR, Velocity Sim Labs as well as Pace Syndicate. We've got to talk about this. We've had a chat out there from Jack Oz. Velocity Racing Team shaping up to look like a threat next season. They've got another new driver in their lineup starting next season. They're not representing the team tonight, but they will be representing them as of next season. He's on screen. He's just come past. Callum Rossonita is racing for VRT next season.
Yeah, Velocity Racing is shaping up to be a bit of a Pro-Am powerhouse, really. Well, I think SRW will go quite well next season as well. I guess they've got a few drivers in their stable now. But no, Velocity's done very, very well. They had Sheafy go very, very close last season. And I think, did Velocity take out the amateurs?
They did with Matt Tessariero last season.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, correction. Yes, you're right. So, look, the Velocity Racing team is starting to put their mark in that mid-pack battle. And it's good to see that it's not just at the top end of town, and we're starting to see the formation of little team rivalries, or like teams actually starting to dominate and block out certain sections of the classes as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see these little, these little,
I guess, rivalries.
Yeah, rivalries, but also actually getting like teams, as you mentioned, in the lower classes. Like, it's not all about the pro teams anymore. It's not all about we'll use the analogy of English football. It's not all about the Premier League. Now we're looking at the Championship level. Then we're looking at League One level as well. Like, it's that sort of stuff. And if we can eventually have this series running where amateurs have got genuine teams battling it out for a title in AMs, genuine teams in Pro-Ams, and genuine teams in Pros, eventually we can run team championships for the classes as well, not just on an overall scale, or not just the Drivers' Championship, but also team championships too.
Ooh,
I think that was Ratcliffe into the wall in the background there.
Just
Massive
gives
moment.
the wall a wee tap.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right, Hamish, and like, how good to see, like, in the Pro-Ams and the AMs, where the teams are actually fighting and jostling with each other just to try and give one of their drivers, I guess, a better chance of winning, or getting a leg up on the competition. It just adds another level of excitement and strategy to the racing that we see week in, week out. So, like, I'm all for it. I'd love to see more, I guess, conglomerate teams. Is that the right word, perhaps? Just larger teams throughout the pack.
Yeah, I mean, it produces more great racing. It also then moves the conversation of, we've spoken about team tactics at the front end of the field before, of how teams will maybe try and balk their opponents so their teammate can get an advantage, which is perfectly legal within the rules as long as they don't crash them out or hit them. And we'll probably start to see that throughout the rest of the field now as well. VRT in the mid-pack of the Pro-Ams, and others in the amateurs as well. You spoke about Team SRW, and we'll start to see those team tactics play out throughout the whole field, not just at the front end of town in that Pro Championship. And that could be deciding factors for these titles. It may not benefit privateer anymore to actually race as a privateer, because they're going to have to be going, if you're wanting to win that Pro-Am title over Sheafy or Tessariero or Anderson or Ferguson, you're having to come up against 6 or 7 cars just to try and win that title.
Exactly, and you've got no teammates out there if you are a privateer. Look,
exactly.
I think a perfect example of that is Rosanita. He's been a privateer for many, many seasons, and like, he's been the bridesmaid several times, whereas we saw Tessariero was a privateer for many seasons as well. Makes the switch to VRT. I like that term, actually. Makes the switch to VRT and gets the championship done. So, look, there is a benefit to joining a team. There's definitely teams always out there willing to take on more people. You just ask around, sort of thing. But yeah, I'm hoping to see perhaps one day, like, a bit of a sister team type thing. Like, you might have a team in the pro category that are just like well and truly above, but they might have a few, or like a team that they kind of, I'll say, partner perhaps, maybe with their practice sessions and tactics and just other, helping each other out sort of thing, which could help, I guess, beneficial for both teams in their own different ways perhaps.
So maybe more like we'll use Velocity Sim Labs as an example, since they have drivers in Pro and Pro-Am. They might have Velocity Sim Labs. Velocity Sim Labs might be the pro team. The Pro-Am team might be like, I don't know, Velocity...
Well, I guess...
Velocity PAM or whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah.
You know, they're still Velocity Sim Labs, but they're racing as the second tier variant, similar to RB and Red Bull.
Yes, yeah. I'd love to see something like that come to the SRW series where teams can, like, not so much like put their drivers up and down because, well, yeah, that's not quite how it works over here. Yeah, be able to just gain that experience and the pros ahead of them, and yeah, I guess come race day, there's definitely benefits for all drivers within that team.
Well, we are 6 3/4 minutes into this qualifying session at the moment. Dylan DeBono sits provisional pole position for Velocity Sim Labs ahead of David Gallo, Doug Gowns, the top 3. Dan Bartish on a return to the Super Formula Championship. First time he's actually raced this car in this series. Previously, he's only been in here for the F3, so narrowly avoids Jordan Ferguson on the spin at turn 5. He currently sits P1 on the road for the Pro-Ams. Dean Sinkovic at the moment for Team SRW Motorsports currently sits P1 on the road for the amateurs at this stage. I'm going to make a claim right now, Hutto. My claim is going to be,
I know what you're going to say as
since
well. Yeah.
Rosanita has now joined VRT, he's going to win the title this season.
Ooh.
You thought it was going to be Dean Sinkovic is going to win the title, didn't you?
I thought you were going to say Sinker, because I know you've backed him several times here.
I am going to stop putting my faith in Sinker until he starts performing. Because you know what? My thought process on that one is, every time I give him plaudits or every time I claim he's going to do something, he does the complete opposite. So we're going to reverse psychology this.
Right, so we're just going to say, Sinker, we're writing him off, and then we'll see him gallop away to an AM championship. Is that it?
He's going to be battling, off topic for it. He's going to be battling for the title with Rosanita. But officially, I think Sinker's not even going to finish above 5th place in the
ends. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Like, he's definitely... Like Sinker, he's got pace. That's the thing. He's got pace. He's just got to put it together on the day, or not on the day, every single week. That's the thing, and that's, I guess, a common theme we've seen with most of our drivers who are coming up through the ranks, is whether they've got the speed or the consistency, they're lacking one or the other, and they're starting to find, I guess, that missing piece of the puzzle. Perfect example, Tesriero. He was consistent for a long time. Joins VRT, finds some pace, bang, smacks everyone. So, look, if Sinker can do that exactly, yeah, I reckon Sinkovic is a very, very good chance. He's my pick for the AM Championship next season.
Well, I look forward to seeing how it does pan out. At a question, what are Jason Sparrow's, meaning Jason Depp's chances next season? I think Jace has got some great pace about him, but unfortunately this last season, he's kind of proved that he's been a little bit inconsistent in some of his decision-making when in battles. I think he cleans his act up a little bit amongst battles. Not that he's done necessarily anything egregious out on track. He's been driving incredibly well, been consistent in some of his performances, but he's lacked that consistency in terms of being able to run at the top end every week, but stay out of trouble. And I think that's what helped Sheafy get into the opportunity to actually fight for the championship. It was the same reason for Brooke able to do that as well. And it's those little 1%ers I think Depp really just needs to correct to be a proper title contender next season for Pro-Ams. I think at the moment, my favourite for Pro-Ams is probably Sheafy at this stage. Incredible run last season, very unlucky not to win it the final round. But there's a caveat to that, Hutto. The caveat is if Matt Gerard doesn't race every race. If he races every race, it's Matt Gerard's. If he doesn't, well, Sheafy's there.
So I'll tell you right now, like Pro-Ams, it's going to be Velocity Racing Team or VRT versus Velocity Sim Lab. We need to get acronyms for these guys.
We do.
But VSL, VRT, perhaps. But like, yeah, if it's Sim Labs versus VRT, like that's 8 cars already out of potentially, maybe 12, 14 that we've currently got jotted down on some paper. But look, Velocity Racing Team, VRT, they've got, for early numbers, they've got about 4 or 5 drivers sitting in Pro-Am. Like, if you're a privateer or, or just a 1 or 2 man team, you look across and, you're just surrounded by VRT left, right and centre every single week. So, look, if VRT don't take out the title, statistically, or like given their chances,
Yeah,
they
statistically
should take out the title.
They have
But
5
I do
opportunities
not-
to win it. Like,
I think it's going to go the way of a Velocity SimLab driver, and perhaps not in the way of Gerard. I'm putting my money behind Ratcliffe this season, I think.
oh, very interesting. I think so. Breaking it down in my perspective, I think Ratcliffe sits in a similar domain to Depp, where he's got some great pace, had some great performances, but again, just lacks those little 1%ers of being able to avoid those small mistakes.
Small corrects, yeah. It's the small incidents. But like, if Ratcliffe can, just find that little spark that he needs to get up to the top and, just overcome those little mishaps, look, he'll be a shoo-in. But and like you said, you touched on Matthew Gerard. He's a very fast driver. I remember
His is literally just based on if he races every week.
he has to turn up. That's it. Yeah, like he's got the pace. I guess what I have noticed though is he does seem to struggle with a large field.
Yes.
So when we had the smaller fields going back a couple of seasons ago, or smaller fields, he did quite well. He could make his way through the pack quite easily, like hot knife through butter sort of thing. Whereas now that there's not a bottleneck at Pro-Ams, there's just the Pro-Am series has bulked out quite significantly. And he's finding it harder and harder to actually make his way through those drivers to get towards probably the bottom of the pros, where he probably should sit. He just lacks either, the availability to come and race, or sometimes just being clinical and just staying incident free. And last season, I guess, wasn't his best we've seen at all. But again, he's still a very good driver. He could take it out. He just needs to, be on track and keep it disaster free. And yeah, like you said, if he's there every single week, then I'd be putting my money on him as well.
Well, there's a couple of dark horses in there we have to talk about for Pro-Am as well. Dan Bartish returning to the series. Into the Pro-Am class, showing some great pace already here in qualifying and in practice. We'll see if he matches that in the race. Callum Hodgkinson would have been an early pick for a dark horse, but unfortunately he's running around with a broken leg at the moment. He's having to race with just his left foot. He has no access to his right foot. So that, I think that early on in the season, that takes him out of contention for me. It's going to be tough for him to race around like that, and unless he puts the time in across this next week before round one, I can't see him being consistent enough with left leg driving like that.
Very unconventional.
Yeah, very unconventional. Nathan Verney, he's had some great performances in the past, but I think, again, he's in the similar boat to Depp and to Ratcliffe, in my opinion. Looking at
he's also coming back from an injury. He had some back problems quite a while ago, and he's done well. He took some time away from the sim rig, and we're fantastic to see him back as well. And by the way, he is probably one of the most popular liveries we have out there, that Rainbow Spew Tron sort of livery.
People love it.
My wife loves it.
They love it.
My wife loves it because it's the most colourful car on the track. So, Bernie, don't ever change it.
I love whenever a race series, the majority of the field runs cars that look like actual race cars. I love it. I do not like when a whole series is built up of just art cars. But something like that, as a one-off thing, one driver in the whole field, as he has a big old spin and collides it into the wall at turn 2. A one-off car like this, where not everyone has a car like that, his car really shines in that way. Like it stands out a lot more because it doesn't necessarily look like a race car livery on it. Where when you're in a whole field of those, it doesn't stand out as much. As qualifying's about to come to an end, we get cut off. De Bono takes pole position tonight, as he did for the Australian Open Wheel Nationals, Hutto. So that's 2 weeks in a row he takes the pole. Can he back it up this week where he couldn't at Silverstone?
Oh, I hope he does. He's got the pace. We know what he's like, but he'll want to probably skip away early. It's just a matter of if he can keep it clean on his own. It just very unfortunate for the Australian Open Wheel Nationals. We've seen it time and time again where he gets a lead and he just doesn't hang on to it.
Well, let's quickly check out the grid for this race tonight. A smaller grid on offer for you here tonight. Only 18 drivers in the field. Dylan De Bono starts pole position ahead of David Gallo on the front row of the grid. Shane Ratcliffe will start P1 for the Pro-Ams, P3 on the road ahead of Marcus Kanitska. Doug Gowans, Dan Bartish make up the third row of the grid with Dean Sinkovich P1 for the AMs ahead of Callan Hodgkinson alongside him. Nathan Verney and Callum Rossanita make up the top 10. Sam Katakazinas and Greg Johnston will start in behind them, with Jordan Ferguson, Andrew Cowan, Kevin Wakefield, Johnny Rowe, Danny Davidson, and Jason Depp at the back end of the field. Neither Davidson or Depp able to get qualifying laps in for qualifying. Davison's going to be someone I'm going to be keeping an eye on this season. Hutto, he could be a dark horse for that title at the pro level, sorry. I look forward to seeing how he goes as we wait for everyone to grid up, and we get to go racing here for Belle Isle for race number 1.
Yeah, I guess you touched on Danny Davison, the privateer. Another one, like, I'm pretty sure DFR have approached him to join the ranks, but I think unsure if he's said no or if he's joining another team. He has registered as a privateer.
I've heard whispers of VRT also, having small chats with him. Don't know how. If I were to look at it, realistically, he's got an offer, from what I believe, from a team that has only pro drivers in DFR, and then VRT, who has only pro-am and AM drivers. If I was Danny, who's arguably a front runner in the pros, he's more likely going to go to DFR out of the two, I would say.
I'd go DFR. Like, you want your wingman up the front with
Exactly.
you. Like, it'd be an absolute coup if he went to VRT, but it's got to be DFR.
Just, thinking about it from that perspective, it's what makes most sense as we're underway at Belle Isle for race number 1 here tonight. A lot of cars get away nice and cleanly down towards turn number 1 and 2. De Bono leads the way. He's got Gallo in behind as well as Ratcliffe as well as they rocket down towards turn number 3 for the very first time. Can they give it nice and clean? This is one of the danger zones of this track, Hutto. They've got to be careful. Cannot push it too hard too early through this second sector of 3, 4, 5 and 6.
Yeah, I guess, it's still quite cool out there. Cold tyres with all the drivers, and, there's no runoff for this track at all. So drivers will be on their best behaviour to keep it off the wall and not hitting each other either.
Only runoff they're really going to have is some driveways at the end of braking zones in case they outbrake themselves. Vernie's already dropped the spot off this start. Katakazinas has had a great run up, 2 spots already. None of the top 8 has changed at this stage as Hodgkinson battling it out with Sinkovic in towards turn 7 for the Fountain Stadium section of this Belle Isle circuit. Another sector they're going to have to be careful of. The triple left assault that'll get onto them. Also as well, Continental Corner, need to be careful of the exit. Hutto cannot light it up too early, or else they're going to spin it around and end up in the wall on the right-hand side of track, left-hand side of screen.
And I think the exit of Continental Corner, we're going to see a few victims. Just give that wall a little bit of a tap and maybe cost themselves a bit of damage as well.
Start of lap 2 now. We've already rocketed round incredibly quickly. These laps are going to go by very, very fast, Hutto. They are a fast-paced lap out here tonight. The leader runs round towards the front couple up towards turn 3. Got some battles happening already here as Hodgkinson and Sinkovic battling it out down towards turn 3. Hodgkinson up the inside. Sinker's going to give it to him.
It's not too bad for 2 left feet.
Oh, he's doing pretty well. He's doing pretty well. Normally that makes you a bad dancer. Doesn't say anything about his bad driving though. Hodgkinson having a great drive thus far so early on in this race. But a long time to go as they make contact at turn 5.
We had to put the knocker on him, didn't we?
We had to moz him, didn't we? And now he's driving around in an oval spec Indy car. Here's Mr. Hodgkinson, and he's had to pull it up on the side of the road.
I wonder if he can drag that one back and get that fast repair done back out in track and, use this race as a bit more practice, perhaps.
Well, what this is now doing as well is it's dropping Sinkovic down the field. He's got massive damage on the front of that car. He's missing the front right-hand wheel. And now things are going to be able to get back.
Turn left. Yeah.
This might be a tow if he's not careful. Hodgkinson's still following him behind as well. As De Bono leads the way, Gallo in behind him. And we're on to lap 3, 2 minutes 45 into this race. So laps are going by quick and fast here, Hutto. And Depp and Davison have not made the start of this race. So unfortunately, we're down to 16 drivers in the field. As Hodgkinson's still struggling to get it round towards pit lane. This might be a tow and an early safety car.
Yeah, perhaps. It'd be nice to see a safety car free race around here. Let the drivers get a feel for the track before we get into a feature, which will probably attract, I guess, definitely one safety car, as you'd think.
At the back, Ross, Anita and Vernie battling it out in the mid-pack here through 5 up towards turn 6. This little sector, incredibly difficult, Hutto.
Getting out of the power. I wonder if the safety car possibly...
I think
he's not on the power there, so safety car must be out, I think.
I reckon it might be. Yeah, it is. Safety car's out on track. So, an early safety car. Hodgkinson is still parked up on the side of the road. expect the leaders are coming up to him now. So, oh, that's a real bad spot as well.
That's blind. That's really, really blind. I do recall when we were here last, back in season 4 of 2023, there was quite a pile-up at that second last corner, because you just come around the corner, you cannot see a thing until you are at the apex.
Exactly.
And I think there was a car park just on the other side. It was, yes.
Yeah, drivers also going to have to be careful as well, because if you catch that inside curb, it can actually spit the car out to the left-hand side and hard into the walls. That's another thing that they're going to have to be careful of in amongst these battles, is controlling the wherewithal, where they place the car on track, not hitting the curbs too hard and not ricocheting themselves into that wall, especially if they're in a battle as well. They're really going to have to be careful about it.
I will admit, like, this track is a very, I guess you really have to be on it and be, I guess, alert all the time. But I quite enjoy it. I think I enjoy the challenge of the fact that if you slip up, it's huge penalty. You can't just run off and go into the sand or on the grass and kind of rejoin safely. You just have to, you know, compromise your line at times just so you can make another lap. So I quite enjoy the challenge of these street circuits, and yeah, Detroit Belle Isle is actually up there as one of my favourite circuits.
I think this is actually more difficult than Long Beach is. Obviously, Long Beach has this big old onus of there's always going to be a safety car. There's always
I guess
carnage.
that hairpin that the final turn is absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I find that Long Beach easier to get into a rhythm than here at Belle Isle. I don't know, something about Belle Isle. Maybe it's the undulation changes. Maybe it's the bumps. I don't know.
It's that triple left-hander as well, because you can't, like, you swing into the right, you try and get it way over to the wall, and then you kind of, there's that dip at the apex, so you can kind of really dig your nose in and let the downforce grab it and rip you around the corner. But the thing is, the undulation continues, and you're bumping and bobbling, and then it's that third right-hander before you come into Continental that really seems to unsettle the car, because if you give it too much, it just wants to spit you out to the left, or you overshoot it, you miss the apex, or it's very, very technical in that sense.
Well, not just that as well. I mean, you look at, as safety car's coming around, I'm not sure if it's coming into the lane. It's not. We're still under safety car. I mean, turn 3 here, known for a bit of chaos, but it's quite an easy corner to actually analyze and assault. It's more or less, it's a corner hard to find pace through there, find the perfect line. Whereas I think turn 5, turn 6 are actually harder corners around than what turn 3 is, because turn 5, you're coming down out of 4 into a braking zone. You're trying to go from the left of the track to the right to get onto the optimal line, whilst also trying to get it under brakes as well and pulled up for 5. Very easy to run it wide into the tyre barrier. And then turn 6, if you come out of 5, you get a poor run out of 5, maybe a little bit of a wiggle, tyres are overheated. Up into the braking zone, top of the hill. It's literally, as you go over the crest, you're on the brakes. That can unsettle the car. Turning it in, you turn in too tight, you can hit the inside wall. That can wreck your car. You don't turn it enough, you can run it wide into the wall on the outside. It's a very tough corner to get right, but a very easy corner to make a mistake. Very easy corner as well to actually loop the car around, because we mentioned that the hump at the top of the hill where you have to brake, but as you actually come around the corner, the ground kind of falls away from you a little bit as you're turning around. So if you're on the gas at the wrong time, the rear's just going to flick out on you and you're going to end up spun round. Turn 7, difficult braking zone. You come down the straight. You think it's going to be a straight line, Hutto, but all of a sudden there's a little kink to the left where you have to brake.
I was about to say it. It just kind of jinks out to the left before you have to slam it across and into the right. And then it's like, I don't think you can even get on full power sort of thing. You kind of nurse it around the corner to then get you like across to the other side of the track and then whip it back across to the left. Like, it's very demanding, this track. I think that's the correct word.
So we'll go on board with Dylan here for a second. This will give you a good example. So you can see here on this wall, you think you're going to be going straight, but as you actually come up to this corner, you'll see just this little dart to the left on the inside wall.
Just underneath the Corvette. It starts to just jink left, and you want to get all the way across, but And
of course, in most cars, whenever you're racing around it, you're wanting to brake in the straight line. And depending on what your braking zone is, it's really hard to brake in a straight line to this place, especially at that corner, because you are having to turn into the braking zone and then turn again to go to the right. So the car can get very unsettled, it can get loose and get spun around very easily, but also if you get that braking zone wrong, you can run it wide and end up either in the tyres you can end up wide and parked, waiting for the whole train to come past you before you actually rejoin the circuit in a safe manner. It's a tough go. It's a tough task for these drivers. We'll see how they handle it after this restart. But already early on in this race, Hutto, it's been a little bit of chaos. And some of these drivers have done well to maximise on it. I mean, Hodgkinson and Singovich are at the back of the field. Everyone else, they've done well. Top 6 unchanged in terms of positions thus far. As we're underway once again, De Bono gets us underway for the restart of this race with David Gallo in behind him as they cross the line to start lap number 6 now. 5.5 minutes into this, 9.5 minutes into this race. We're already on the second half of this race, Hutto. Already second half of the race.
We're approaching the halfway mark, and who's that? P4, Mark Nitska, getting up the real close to Ratcliffe. They all get around the corner just fine for now. Yeah, look, we're over the halfway. Already at the halfway stage. Still got 10 minutes of hard racing. We've got another 4 laps perhaps. Minute 20. Yep, that's about right, I think. No, 5 laps perhaps.
No, not 5 laps. Not across 10 minutes.
No.
Do the maths. Come on, it's probably about 7 laps, Hutto. 7 or 8 at least.
I'll have to get the amateurs out.
Fix the arithmetic. So at the moment, Ratcliffe leads for the Pro-Ams. He's just off the overall podium of Knitska, Gallo and De Bono. Bardish P2 for the Pro-Ams. Verney P3. Rosanita currently leads the amateurs. Still a privateer in this race, and he officially joins VRT as of round 1 of next season. He leads to Johnston in P2. Rowe P3 for the amateurs at this stage. Ferguson, Cowan, Wakefield, Singovich, Hodgkinson off their podiums at the moment for Pro M&M. Gowans and Katakazinas off the podium for the pros at the moment. If it wasn't for Dean Singovich and Callan Hodgson right now, so every car out on track, Hutto, we have exactly 5 of each class.
And I wonder what's happened to Sinkovich. He's back in the pits again. He got the wave around, so I wonder if he's looped it halfway around the back whilst trying to unlap himself.
I believe he has. Unfortunately, we can't go back and have a look at it because it was 2 laps ago. And then we'd have to continue round from that point as Ratcliffe spins it round.
That was friendly fire as well. I think that was Dougie Gowans and Ratcliffe both Ratcliffe going around and Gowans having to pull it up.
Yeah. But what that has done, though, it has actually promoted their other teammate, Sam Katakazinas, now inside the top 5. It has also promoted Bartish into P1 for the Pro-Am, Verney up to P2, and Ferguson right now is battling Ratcliffe for P3. So he's under fire, under pressure. Velocity versus velocity. This is what we predicted, Hutto. Bit of VRT versus SimLabs. More of this.
We're going to see more of this season. VRT versus SimLabs. So keep an eye out for that one going into season 4.
Well, I wonder if SimLabs are going to remember to bring their beakers with them, or if they're going to leave the Bunsen burners on and maybe blow themselves out of the water. We'll have to wait and see. But VRT at the moment in control for the back end of the podium for the Pro-Am. Bartish leads with Verney in P2. Rosanita leads for the amateurs with Johnston and Rowe on the podium. So if this was round 1, right now VRT would have 3 podium sitters at the moment, with Rosanita leading the amateurs at this stage. We're not quite there yet. For the pros, De Bono leads. Gallo is right on him. So is Knitska. So top 3 battle separated by barely a whisper at the moment, Hutto, as they battle it through turn 5 and 6.
Yeah, I'm just seeing up on the leaderboard, Cowie and Johnny Rowe going stroke for stroke right now, only 0.3 between them, so this one should be developing into a nice little race between these guys tonight.
Yeah, they're having a good battle. We did have plans on Wednesday night to actually have Cowie's camera on screen from time to time. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that, obviously, not being able to do this live, but that's what you can expect next season. Next season, we're checking in with Cowie throughout the races. We'll get his camera up on screen for the double view alongside his car. And, really just give some shine to my former co-commentator here on the Wednesday nights, who we expect to be returning into the booth with us, Hutto, for Season 1, making it a 3-man crew. But that's really going to be dependent on how much fun Cowie's having in the SFLs as Wakefield spins it round in the background. Unfortunate for him. Further up the
road. Soft spot for Kevy. He's there weekend. Oh, someone just tagged.
Bono.
Oh, big bag.
Oh, De Bono's off, as is Ferguson getting caught out by it as well, as is Katakazinas as well. So a massive moment at turn 1-2. And Konitska's on his roof. He's on his intake.
Well, that'll be a safety car for sure.
Surely.
Oh,
what's the rejoin there,
No.
Sam? Oh, my God. That is...
We're going to have to get a replay of that. We're going to have to get a replay of that.
We're close enough. We can do a replay of it. Don't worry. We are close enough. We're not too far away from it. So we'll just have to deal with this actually going back in time for this one. This was De Bono down at turn 1-2. So he had Gallo and Konitska behind him. Spins it round. And then Konitska's trying to avoid. Oh, he's got caught up by Katakasinas. And that's what spun him round and flipped him over.
Oh, that's unfortunate. And then I think, who was it? Bowens has a bit of a sympathy spin off to the right-hand side as well.
No, he's kept going. It was
Ferguson. Was it Ferguson, was it?
Ferguson. Yes. Oh, my God. So a massive moment at this point of the race. Gallo now leads. Bartish P2. That would be wild if he would have finished overall podium in race 1 and win Pro-Am. All three class leaders are on the podium at the moment, Hutto.
Yeah, it's not often we see this sort of thing. I think we've been very, very close, and we saw it once last season. But, yeah, it's always exciting to see a bit of a shake-up at the top anyway.
I don't think we've ever had a race, though, where they've actually finished like this, I do believe. I don't think we've ever actually had all three class winners on the overall podium at the end of the race. It's happened mid-race, for sure. I don't know if we've ever actually had it on the official results, though.
Laguna Seca? No, that's not right. We'll have to check the history books.
We're gonna deep dive our history books before round 1 next season, so we can clarify if it's ever happened before. But there's a lot of cars in. There's a lot of cars in pit lane. Ferguson, De Bono, Konitska, Singovic, Hodgkinson. 5 cars in this race in the pit lane. There's only 11 cars left on the lead lap.
Well, that moment proved pivotal, didn't it? Like, it's shaken the whole field from top to bottom. Like, Gallo's, streaking out in front. Still got that 2-second gap. But it'll be interesting to see what actually caused that incident. Was it De Bono just, a bit of oversteering? Did he get attacked from behind? I'm not sure. Race control will be looking at all that, trying to clear up what exactly happened between all the drivers. And, yeah, I guess we'll have to stay tuned to see how it all pans out.
Board now with Rosanita through turn 5 and turn 6. He's under pressure at the moment from Verney in behind him. As these guys battle on through up towards turn 7. Lap 10 of this race, 15.5 minutes gone by thus far. I've heard word from race control. The incident with Mr. De Bono is to the fault of car 78, David Gallo. So Gallo, who currently leads the race, has been given a drive-through penalty to serve before the end of this race. The second incident was an NFA because of how many cars are involved. So they determined that was a racing incident off that one.
But how's that for Dan Bartish? Like, the first race back to an open wheeler here at SRW in a long, long time. Probably his first in this type of car. And he's now promoted to the top. How good.
Exactly right. As Gallo brings the car in. So that's him serving the drive-through. Rosanita through turn 2. Massive off for him. Oh, needs to be careful and launches Greggy Johnston through turn 2 as well. The ramp car from Fast and Furious 6 is on display for us in Belle Isle, and Rosanita is at the wheel of it.
Kids don't do this at home.
No. Really doing his best impression of Deckard Shaw right there. Greggy Johnston, I hope he's okay. The car looks absolutely cooked.
That's going to have to be a tower thing. He's going to have to pull that up. And
that's looking like prime Sebastian Buemi at the Chinese Grand Prix when he lost both his suspension down into the braking zone. That thing is wrecked, as is Rosanita's.
A shame for both drivers. But yeah, they can go off half-time, have some oranges, drink of water, and come back out in the feature race.
Exactly right. Get a little squirt of green cordial into your system, rejuvenate, and have a run at race 2 for the 40-minute feature. At the moment, Dan Bartish leads the way. Verney in P2, Dougie Gowans in P3. If Bartish were to win this race, this would be his first ever overall win in the Super Formula Championship / Formula 3 Nationals. And what a way for him to return to the series if he was able to pull this off.
I think if I was in his position right now, 4 minutes, or 3 minutes left of the race, 2 minutes to be precise in this one. But like, he'd be packing. He'd be like, "How has this happened? There's all these quick guys that have been in front of me for the entire race, and it's just opened up for him." I think he'd be beside himself right now. The pressure would be immense. He'd be sweating bullets as Vernie puts it into the wall in the background. And let's hopefully Bartush can bring this home for his maiden victory.
Well, he is pushing on forward. 2 minutes left in this race. You'd have to argue 2 more laps of this race left to be run. Vernie's off the podium. Gowans is now up into P2 overall. P1 for the pros still. Ratcliffe, his teammate, P3 on the road. Vernie and Cowan make up the top 5. There is 1 pro in the top 5. 4 inside the top 10. The top 2 for the amateurs are in the top 10. Johnny Rowe leads to Kevin Wakefield. Realistically, Hutto, would you ever put your money on these 2 to be the top 2 in this race off of previous performances?
Possibly not, but look, I'd love to see a shake-up of the system. The drivers don't have the best of luck, or can't quite make the podiums from time to time. I'd love to see the underdog story come to fruition. So yeah, hopefully, or as we're probably going to see, Johnny Rowe or Kevin Wakefield take out this number 1 spot for the amateurs.
It'll be their first class victory apiece if either of them were to do it. Bartish could be on for his first overall victory at this stage. We've got 40 seconds left on the timer, so actually this will be the final lap, Hutto, of this race as Bartish comes round turn 5 and turn 6. He's got Gowans hot on his heels. 1.7 seconds is the gap. Everyone else is spread out. Closest battle is Cowan and Rowe in the battle for P5. Rowe up 10 positions at the moment. We'd have to argue he's probably had the cleanest race of anyone in the field thus far. No mistakes from Rowe, and it's paid off for him by getting himself into the top 6.
Yeah, fantastic effort by all drivers. But yeah, only a few corners left for Bartush, and he'll become our 33rd race winner here at SRW.
You know, Hutto, I deliberately counted how many there were because I was going to yell at that stat, and you've just ripped it from my hands. That's fine. As Bartish comes around the second to last corner here, and then up through modal turn for the final run home towards the line for race number 1. Dan Bartish claims victory at Belle Isle, becomes the 33rd winner for the Super Formula Championship / Formula 3 Nationals. Dougie Gowans, P2 on the road, wins the pros. Ratcliffe home in P3. Gallo's going to come home P4 on the road after a drive-through. Exceptional job from him. Cowie finishes his first race ever in the Super Formula Championships, Hutto, where he hasn't had a crash, and it's gotten him a top 5.
What? Really? No.
Yep.
Surely not.
Yep.
Well, congratulations, Cowie. But yeah, look, what a fantastic result for Dan Bartish. Look, just comes back, chalks up a win. It's just not falling in his lap. Like he has to do it with his own skill and whatever else. But you'd be beside yourself right now. You'd be thinking, well, that was easy. How do you think he's going to perform in race 2, starting from P10 this time, though?
Well, this now puts Marcus Kanitska on pole for race 2 with Sam Katakazinis alongside him on the front row. That's going to be a heater battle at the front of the field, Hutto. Bartish, with the amount of chaos we had starting P10, it's
just got to stay away from the carnage.
Yeah.
But look, if we see the front runners do exactly what they've done in this last 20 minutes and essentially take each other out, bit by bit, you'd almost be licking your lips saying, I can do it again. I can do it from here. Because I'm trying to think what he qualified. It was within the top 10 for sure. But yeah, fantastic effort by all drivers for that one.
Well, race 2 is going to come at you quick and fast, ladies and gentlemen. This will be the starting grid for the... Oh, no, it hasn't done it because it's on the replay. That is incredibly nice of iRacing to do that to us. The grid for race number 2, though, will be a reverse top 10 of the results of the last race. So we'll quickly get up the results for the last race and just quickly run through the grid at the same time as well. So how they finished in race number 1 was Bartish P1. He'll start P10 in this race. Gowans P2. He'll start P9. Ratcliffe P3. He'll start P7. Gallo P4. He'll start P6. Cowie... I'll restart. Bardish will start P10. He finished P1 in race number 1. Gowns will finish P2. Will start P9. Ratcliffe will start P8. He finished P3 in this race. Gallo finished P4. He'll start P7. Cowie finished P5. He'll start P6. Rowe finished P6. He'll start P7. Waitcliffe finished P7. He'll start P4. Verney finished P8. He'll start P3. Katakazinas will start P2 after finishing P9. And it'll be Mr. Konitska on the front row of the grid, starting from pole position. As we're about to get underway here for race number 2. Quick and fast is the letter. As we get away for race number 2. 40-minute feature coming your way right now. As we rocket through turn 1, 2. Do we see any carnage early on with the reverse top 10? It normally throws up a little bit of spice for us, Hutto, as we come down towards turn 3. But they look pretty neat and tidy at the moment as they try and survive the run, but it's feisty in the background.
About to say they're going for, almost 3 and 4 wide going down that straight. They managed to keep it all pretty clean thus far, but I expect some fireworks in these opening exchanges.
Yeah, the fireworks could be coming quick and fast, earlier than we would have expected. Later this season, obviously, at Daytona for the final round is when we expect the fireworks to come, but we could see it early on here in Detroit as Konitska leads the way. Katakazinas P2, Verney P3 at the moment in this race, ladies and gentlemen. And with Konitska, this is going to work out well for him. If he can hold a clean race here, Hutto, could be on for an exceptional performance and rocketing his way forward up the order for the title race in the F1 Shadow Series.
I guess he'll be hoping for no safety cars for this race because he's got a fair gap to the drivers behind him and a lot of drivers in between his competitors in his league. So, look, he'll be hoping that the drivers get caught up in the traffic as long as possible so we can extend that lead for as far as possible as he can.
Yeah, he just needs to try and push forward, push as hard as he can to make his way through the field. Just try and survive on the way home to the checkered flag. But it's going to be a long race, 40 minutes. I'm sure we'll get some safety cars, Hutto. I'm sure we'll get some chaos as well, as there's been a moment up at turn 2 with Hodgson and Ferguson. Hodgson pulls out and absolutely destroys Greg Johnston's car. That's going to be a safety car for sure.
Oh, poor Greg Johnson. Race 1 and race 2. He just... Oh, you've got to feel for the man, don't you?
You really do. You really, really do. That's 2 races now that his race has been destroyed at turn 2. And he's now put it in the wall. Ferguson's been held up. He's now at the back of the field. Early on in this race, he could still come back from this, but it's going to be a tough task for sure. But at the moment, Konitska leads.
I think Ferguson did really well to actually pull that up in front of that incident. He saw the spinner in front and just, managed to get on the brakes nice and early and, not have a sore nose out of it. But, I think we'll see the safety car enter the track very, very soon.
Well, we can see that Konitska is already starting to push out this lead back to Katakazinas. It's already out to 2 seconds at the end of lap 2. Massive moment down there. Hodgkinson and Johnston have been allowed to tow back to pits, so no safety car just yet, Hutto. Very, very lucky. Very, very lucky for some of these drivers out there.
Yeah, I guess perhaps in the spirit of racing, race controls decided that let the guys race, let them turn a few laps without this stop-start nature that we normally see throughout the season. So yeah, like we said, it's going to be probably a bit more of a relaxed feel tonight, a bit more fun for drivers, and I think half the fun really is going to be for the drivers, keeping it off the wall and keeping it nice and clean.
Jack was in the chat. I blame Jordan for just being in the session. I blame Jack Anderson for not being in the session. That was his fault. He should have been there. It wouldn't have happened if Jack was on track.
Well, it's almost bloody BRT practice session at the moment, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
A couple of the drivers early.
As Rosanita currently chases down Dougie Gowans at the moment. A bit further up the road from me as Bartish and his new teammate for next season, Johnny Rowe, currently leads the amateur race at the moment. He's got Wakefield as well as Rosanita and Sinkovic hunting him down at the moment. Verney leads the Pro-Am with Cowan and Ratcliffe in behind him. For the pros, it's Konitska, Katakazinas and Gallo for the top 3 at this fault. Speaking of Johnny Rowe in the chat, 100% Jack's fault. The VRT banter is coming to our chat, Hutto. You'll love to see it. They're not only taking over our field in the Pro-Ams and the AMs, they're taking over the chat tonight as well.
Or perhaps, their banter game's as good as their racing game next week, and they can actually take out or, lock out that Pro-Am podium. But, we'll wait and see. I'm laying down the gauntlet. Look, there's, 5, 6 of them in the Pro-Ams thing. They should take out at least 1 or 2 spots, but I think it'll be more of a novelty to see if there are any weeks where they don't have one of their teammates on the podium, or they don't take out the race win. That'll be interesting to see.
It will. The question is as well, do they take points off each other for the championship chase, Hutto?
Well, you've got to almost think about, like, if there's, 4 or 5 or 5 or 6 of them next season, when are they going to start favouring and start thinking about, okay, we need to, try and protect this driver or promote this driver up the field to try and get a few more points so we can, wave the flag at the end of the day and say that we won the championship. And I guess when you've got 5 within the same team, it's going to be, tricky to work out at times unless there's like a clear-cut early move. Ooh, Dan Bartush with a bit of a nose rear contact on Roseneater. They're just giving me a little love tap. Hurry up. Back to VRT. It'll be interesting to see how they approach next season with such a large number of drivers in that Pro-Am class, but ultimately it'll be up to them and whatever team orders they wish to order and abide by. And I'm quite looking forward to it.
I think it'll more or less come down to who's in contention. Probably after the first three rounds, maybe they might say, "Hey, you've had a strong run the first 3 rounds. We're going to try and give you some favoritism." As Roseneater just absolutely sends Rowe at turn 3. Wakefield's off in the background as well. So he's made a mistake down at turn 3. As has Sinkovic, appears out of absolutely nowhere.
It's like a comedy of errors. It's like, we panned back to Wakefield. It's like, no, you didn't see anything. It's like, okay, nothing to see here, guys. And there's a bright red Dean Sinkovic, backing her up.
Oh, my God. What a moment. What a moment in this race. 6.5 minutes into it. Lap 5 of this one, being led by Marcus Knitska in dominant fashion. 3.7 seconds. The one thing he doesn't need right now is a safety car to come out on track. So he needs to hope that the entire field can keep it clean in behind him. Otherwise, he's going to get dragged back in, rubber banded back to the front of Sam Katakazinis' car, who currently sits P2.
And I guess he doesn't have any teammates out there tonight. Knitska, he's out there flying solo for Pace Syndicate. And that's another team. Like, if we, start talking about the Pro Championship as such, there's now the development on, 4 or 5 teams, very strong teams, who can all take out the title. And look, we saw his teammate Roberts, clinch it 2 seasons ago. 2 seasons ago. And Knitska, was in the hunt on the very last day. He was leading going into the final race. Sinkovic's call. I think we've just heard safety car getting called out.
Yep, there he is there. He's in the wall. My God, that's a big, big issue for Mr. Sinkovic. What has happened to him to cause this safety car? Oh! That's exactly what we spoke about, Hutto. He caught the curb on the inside, and it's absolutely thrown him like a German suplex into the wall on the outside, and that Shannon's Team SRW Motorsports car is absolutely wrecked. I cannot see that thing getting back out on track right now.
That was brutal, absolutely brutal hit, and you'd be ruining that tiny mistake. You'd be absolutely livid with yourself. But look, he'll hopefully get back to the pits, use his fast repair, and get back out on track to hopefully finish out this 40-minute feature.
Well, Knitska right now will be swearing at himself because the safety car is coming onto the track, and that's now going to shrink his gap back to Sam Katakazinis down to an absolute sliver. What I think he needs to do, though, is, Hutto, he needs to pit. He just needs to do it. Safety car's on track. It's a free stop. He stays out. I would have come in. Even if you're winning, it's better to come in, take the bit of fuel under the free stop, maybe put some fresh tyres on the car, and then push on, because he had a hell of a gap. And Katakazinis is actually making the gap even bigger at the moment by going slightly slower, expecting to catch the safety car.
Fuel, yeah. That could have been an interesting ploy had it happened. Well, that's the thing. You don't have a rear gunner to give you an update of like, this guy's checking up, or try and move the other car along to catch up to the to the field, really. So, yeah, perhaps a missed opportunity for Knitska, but it still would have dropped him down the order. He probably would have come out about maybe P7.
Well,
as we look at the timing tower.
Bartish and Ferguson are in, so this could be a massive play in the Pro-Am scheme of things, because Verney, who's just out of Gallo, Ratcliffe and Cowan, the top three for the Pro-Am, have stayed out.
It'll be interesting to see how these drive. We'll keep an eye on Bartish and Ferguson as this race progresses, and just see if this strategy pans out for them, because there's still a lot of racing ahead of them. If we're not at the 15-minute mark, and a tank will normally last 23 to 25 minutes if you know, from post to post, and we're racing. So look, I guess they'd probably be gambling that there'd be another safety car throughout this 40-minute feature.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, we've had a bit of chaos. Probably lucky we didn't actually get 2 safety cars in race 1.
I think it was a wise decision by race control not to call the first one. And look, with the way that the race has been panning out, I can see another safety car coming out. So maybe this is the masterstroke for both Bartush and Ferguson.
It could very well be, because if there's another one, they'll get another free pit stop. It'll be a shorter pit stop, though. So they're giving up some track position in terms of timing tower, but they're not really giving up much time, because they're still going to be in amongst the field. So if they can actually have a clean run right now, get past some of the drivers they know they're a bit faster than, like Wakefield and Rowe, they're probably on pace with Rosanita and Cowan. But if they can stay on the back of them, this is only going to benefit them come the pit stops, Hutto, and they're only going to move up the field after that.
And I guess the benefit of this, like this round in particular, yes, we aren't in a regular season, whilst this is a shadow round, and still the points still contribute to the F1 Shadow Series overall. The guys can experiment with different like tactics like this. It's not going to be as detrimental to their championships as such. So, look, I'm all for trying new things and, you know, shaking it up and having different people, you know, come to the front in different situations. So, yeah, I guess most of the drivers could be using this as a bit of a practice as to how to use their pit strategies going forward.
Possibly also actually practicing the gambles too. Saying, you know, hey, if I'm at this point in a race, if I pit now, take some fuel, no one else comes in, does this actually benefit me, or will it hurt me if it were to happen later in the season? So
you only
probably
learn
good
by
plan.
experience, right?
Exactly right.
You only learn by experience. And like, I know there's one driver out there that loves to have a bit of a gamble, as they call it, a zero IQ move, Mr. J. Dixon. But look, I'm all for it. Look, if you can, you know, take that gamble and somehow promote yourself up, you know, 5-10 positions at the end of the race. It might be those 5-10 positions that you would not have seen had you stayed where you are. So, look, if you're a mid-pack merchant or you're always down the back, I'm all for it. Go for it.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out now in this race. We are at the 12-minute mark of this one. We're past the quarter mark of this race, Hutto. We expect pit stops, regular pit stops, to be happening probably around about the 22 to maybe 27-minute mark. With the safety car, maybe that now pushes out to about 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely get 30 minutes out of this tank for the guys that have not pitted. For the guys that have pitted, it'll be tight, because you got to go for, you know, 25 minutes from when they pitted, and that was a couple of minutes ago. So it probably benefits the guys that have stayed out so far, as opposed to the guys that have come in early. But if there is another safety car, then Bartush and Ferguson really come into play.
Yeah, they would, all of a sudden, their fuel strategy means they can get home on the one stop. Where if it stays green for the rest of this race, then they will likely need another little splash and dash just to get it home. It's going to be a tough job. It's going to be a tough task for them to do it. But with a little bit of fuel saving, a little bit of tactics, they could get it done. Kanitska will lead us off for the restart. Katakazinos will be P2. Verney, P1 for the Pro-Am, P3 on the road at the moment. He's got Gallo and DeBono making up the top 5, and behind Ratcliffe, Gowans, Cowan make up the top 8. Then the top 3 for the amateurs in behind them for P9, 10, 11. Rosanita, Rowe, and Wakefield for the top 3 in the AMs. That is Bartish and Ferguson, the gamblers in the field. Johnston also gambled on it as well. And then Sinkovic at the back end of the field, a lap down after causing the safety car. We're going racing once again for Belle Isle as Bartish gets us away. Safety cars in pit lane, and it is green flag running here for lap 9 of this race. 13.5 minutes into proceedings as they rocket round turn 2. Fast and furious action out of Detroit Belle Isle. here tonight for round 18 of the F1 Shadow Series. As you already see a bit of a dive happening in the background. De Bono up the inside of Gallo. Bit of a lock up there from Vernie, and he's in the wall. And that takes him out of contention.
Yeah, you hate to see that on the restart for Vernie. Very sore nose there for the Rainbow car, so he'll be coming into the pits, getting
sore
another
shoulder
nose put on,
as well. He's got a sore shoulder too, so...
Yeah, take the fuel, take the tyres, get it all redone, get back out, enjoy the last, 25 minutes of the race. So actually puts him in a good position. Not ideal because he's put himself in a wall, but strategically, not too bad.
He will be far back a little bit though because of the time that he's now going to lose. So if he can get back to pit lane, he wants it to get it done as quickly as possible because he is giving up time whilst these guys are going around at full pace. De Bono did end up getting the move done on Gallo down at turn 3, so he now sits P3 on the road. That now promotes Ratcliffe P1 for the Pro-Am. No changes for the amateurs as a bit, apart from Wakefield passing Rowe for P2 in that amateur field at this stage. Top 10 has got at least the top 2 in each class in it. Third place for the amateurs just outside the 10, so they would need another pro to drop out for us to get all 3 podiums in amongst the top 10.
Well, I think you just hear that, Hamish. No further action on the safety car restart. I think I'm checking to see if they might have jumped the gun or was alongside another car on that restart. But yeah, no further action deemed by race control, so play on.
Very good at keeping the kayfabe alive, Hutto. I love it. But yeah, Mr. De Bono, they wanted to check if he did get a jump off the restart. He did not. He did not have the overlap before the leader went green. So no illegal activities from the Velocity Sim Labs off that safety car restart. At this stage, they've got 2 cars on the podium, Katakazinas and De Bono. Kanitska still leads, and he is rocketing ahead once again. If I'm any of the pros, I'm worried. Because if he's got this kind of pace at the front of the field in clean air, how are you ever going to stop him and how are you ever going to catch him during the regular season?
I guess that's another thing. Like, we've speculated, we've looked at our favourites and our leaders, whatever, but what are you most looking forward to, Hamish, in Season 4, coming season? What are you looking out for when that does happen?
Just quickly as well, Kevin Wakefield's had a moment at turn 12. So another one bites the dust in that corner. Oh, what am I looking forward to?
I guess I'm looking forward to, a privateer assault at the top of the table.
Yeah.
And I'm talking the Cutter Jar and the Davison show. Like, if they can go forth and give the other teams a fair shake.
I'm looking forward to seeing how this restructure in the classes, thanks to how drivers drove last season, and obviously the champions getting moved up a class aside from the pro, how that actually affects the championship race. And not just how it affects the class they're going up into, but also how it affects the class they're leaving as well. So obviously Tesseriero is leaving AMS. He won that title by a fair whack over Rosanita. Does that now make that title race closer? Quite possibly.
Well, it depends who remains in those classes, and like the admin team will be going over the entries and looking at the, who's around sort of thing, and weighing up, because there were some drivers that were definitely standouts, and more than just once. And I'm not talking Tesseriero, like just him. I'm talking Rosanita and Noble. They were all fairly quick for that AM class. So it'd be interesting to see if those drivers do remain in AM class, or if they do get pushed up in a Pro-Am, which is exactly where they're racing at the moment. So, and that would actually really open up the AM class.
Maybe a poll towards the drivers, Hutto. Ask them, do these two deserve to go up to Pro-Am? Maybe say the amateurs can't vote on it because they would have some favoritism because of their title race. You say anyone who's not an amateur can vote on it and see what the drivers say. Do they think that Rosanita and Noble should go up with Matt Tesseriero, or should they remain in AM and have a chance of winning the title?
Yeah, I guess there's 2 ways to look at that one. You can kind of go, let the people vote sort of thing, and you may not get the outcome you want, or you leave it to the admin team to, try and make a judgment and see how that pans out. But look, I think there's benefits for either way, and it's not about trying to get everyone a championship to promote themselves up the order, because imagine if you've come second in the AM class, time and time again, and you're a driver, let's say like Greg Johnson or Kevin Wakefield, who have been in the AM class for a long, long time now as well, you wouldn't be, I guess you would not be upset to see those guys get promoted because they're just so far ahead of, I'll say, the remaining AM class as such. But you probably wouldn't want to have the championship not handed to you either, but you'd want to try and beat those guys, but you'd want to see the back of them at the same time. It's a bit of a weird balance, that one, if you get my drift, Hamish.
Or I've just noticed as well, Nathan Verney's had a moment down at turn 3. The car is currently parked up on the side of the road, not moving at this stage. Ratcliffe has come into pit lane. Could see a safety car out on track. I suppose the one thing, Hutto, that we should probably then think about as well is you actually then shrink the sample size of who can possibly move up in seasons future. Because eventually, I know that some drivers eventually come back down. Eventually, though, you'll get to a spot where the pool is so small for the possibility of them going up without new entries coming in that it almost feels like if you were to move them up, then you're moving up too many people at once.
But I get that point, but I don't think we'll ever see like the AM class just dry up sort of thing. Like there'll always be a class like towards the bottom, or there'll be a split somewhere within that pack, and that comes with just balancing the numbers as is. So like just say we had a perfect 60 drivers, 20 in each, and over the course of 5 seasons you'd then have 25, 20 and 15 in each of those classes.
Well, do we then say, Hutto, that if we ever got to that if you were to promote, let's say, the champion of each of the Pro-Am and the Am, should last place in Pro-Am and Pro go down?
And that's what we've done or looked at, definitely, I guess, for this season. That's why we leave our grading or our final decisions to the end of round 3, because we get a few new faces turn up, and we assess how they drive amongst the rest of the pack out there, and we have our benchmark drivers throughout the field. We go, this guy's probably teetering on pro, but if this person's definitely quicker than this guy, then they should probably be in this class, or if they're slower than this guy, they should be in this class. So it's all, I guess I would rather see the drivers racing in the class that they should be racing in, rather than like another 2 seats. So for the example, Rosanita and Noble, right? They did not win the AM championship, yet they went very close and they're very, very quick. Are you telling me that another 2-horse race is going to be better for the AM championship racing? Or would you rather be competing, well, I know as a driver, I'd rather be competing in a higher class and mixing it with the guys who I'm more aligned with, or same amount of pace, as opposed to racing one other guy and, given the guys behind them are absolute toweling. So that's my thoughts anyway.
Well, all we have got at the moment, though, Hutto, is a great battle on track. Bartish, Rosanita, this is the battle for P6. They both lead their classes at the moment, although Bartish does need a pit stop, as does Cowan. So at the moment, only 4 odd seconds back. Jordan Ferguson is the provisional leader of the Pro-Am class after pitting under the first safety car. And if he's saving fuel right now, he could possibly get home on this tank of fuel.
Yeah, fingers crossed that early pit stop does pay off for him. I mean, to be able to save a little bit of fuel if he just stays behind Cowie now and just, soaks up a little bit of a tow and, gets out of it nice and early. Because really the pressure is, he'd be looking up the field, looking at Bartush. If he can keep him within, 15 to 20 seconds and save all that fuel towards the end, he'll still come out in front of him. Then he'll just be racing Bartush. So, yeah, I guess we'll see how this one develops.
Well, it's going to be an interesting battle towards the end of this race. Jackals in the chat saying, I prefer to be fighting at the back of the higher class than dominating a lower class. So that's a good point as well. Better to be fighting amongst drivers who you're on pace with than dominating others below you.
Yeah, and you always want to improve, right? Like, we all want to be a pro. Some of us can't be pros. Like, I know my skill level doesn't lend itself to, I guess, that yet. But, yeah, I agree with, Jack there, that I'd rather be at the pack, scrabbling for points with the, for a higher class than, giving the guys behind me an absolute toweling.
Well, I suppose one way we could also look at it is so other race series out there, we use Vets as an example, has the multi-split system. it's actually benefited some drivers sometimes who've actually gone down a split to be battling up the front every week. It's given them confidence, boosted their ego a little bit, but also helped them gain some better experience at the front of the field, but also gain some more skills about them. And again, fix up those 1%ers a little bit. So when they actually come up to the next split the next season, if they were to finish in the top 3, they actually race better than the season they went down, because they've had the experience up the front. They've had the experience racing around drivers who race clean with them. They've also learnt little tricks of the trade that they can employ at the back end of the field or at the mid-pack of the field of the next split up. That actually helps them continue to rise up the rankings season after season and continue to boost that confidence more and more and become more comfortable with the car as well.
Yeah, you are correct in that sense, Hamish, in that, look, when you're racing at the front versus racing towards the back, it's two completely different races, right? Because at the front, you're needing to make those passes. You know you'll probably be gaining time on a few other drivers out there, but it's about keeping your car, I guess, clean, but also quick at the same time. Whereas if you're at the back, you might just be looking for pace. Yes, you want to keep it clean, but because you're at the back, you may not be, I guess, too upset if you do crash out, sort of thing, or you're always trying to pick up the crumbs of other drivers in front of you. And I guess that you kind of learn a different skill set. And if this league were to grow to a point where we could have 2 complete splits, yes, that is something that we'd definitely be looking at. You know, retaining a portion of the top split, demoting a portion of the top split to the bottom split, vice versa, split 2 going up to split 1, sort of thing. It'd be something I'd love to see for this league. The league grow and actually get to that point where we can have those discussions and, you know, have those arguments about who goes up, who goes down, and then actually, I guess that'll give drivers perhaps more of a drive, because there's always the cherry of the Australian Open Wheel Nationals, right? And we'll always want to send our best drivers away. So guys will be wanting to, you know, be trying to get into that top split through, like, say, pre-season qualifying, to then battle each other just to make 20th the spot to race in the big dance at the end of the season. So, yeah, you're right in the sense of like having a promotion relegation type thing would be great and does build drivers, I guess, skill sets. But, you know, time will tell. We need the numbers to come out and race with us each week so we can actually make that a thing.
What I think as well would happen if we went to 2 splits is we'd actually probably abolish the Pro-Am and Am at that stage. It'd be a real split 1, split 2.
Yeah, I guess we'd have to. Yeah, we'd definitely look at
it'd be too weird and wacky to do Pro-Am and Am split 1, Pro-Am, Am split 2. It wouldn't work.
No, you might split one of the splits in 2, so it might be like split 1, then 2A, 2B, or something like that, or like you have 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, like you know that sort of theory sort of thing. But or you just race with 2 complete splits.
I think you just do 2 complete splits, and it'd be SFL Championship and then probably SFL 2.
Yeah, something like that. So, and I guess that's the beauty of it. If you've now got 2 complete splits, you've now got, say, 30 drivers or 35 drivers and 35 drivers who are of equal caliber to each other or similar caliber, sort of thing. So, look, like I said, we do need the numbers to grow here at SRW to make that a thing. I'd love to see it happen, and yeah, I guess that's for admin's future problems, really.
Well, we are well past the halfway point of this race now, 27.5 minutes in, as we get past the admin podcast section of this show. We're just about at the 3/4 way mark. A couple of pit stops have happened during that time. Namely, Dylan De Bono coming in on the last lap, lap 17, or 2 laps ago, I should say. So he is now on the road home. He is still ahead of Dan Bardish and Jordan Ferguson, who we saw roll the dice on lap 6, as well as Shane Ratcliffe came in on lap 12. So we've had 4 pit stops in amongst the top 10. Kanitska, Gallo, Gowans, Katakazinas, Rosanita, Cowan still need a stop in this race. And it's pretty much a 2-horse race for that Pro-Am title, Bartish and Ferguson for tonight's event.
Well, I guess just touching on De Bono, did he pit from P3 or was he in P2?
He was P2.
He was P2. So it'll be interesting to see if he can leapfrog Kanitska now he's out in the open, sort of thing, or whether that's actually be detrimental and that puts him behind Gallo. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on De Bono as this one progresses as well.
One thing we also have to think about as well is, out of Bartish and Ferguson, which of them are fuel saving? Because if Bartish is not fuel saving but Ferguson is, All of a sudden, Bardish needs another stop, and Ferguson jumps him into P1 of the Pro-Am as Rosanita comes into pit lane. So he now takes his final scheduled stop of the race. This will get him to home. He should remain leading the amateur field at the end of this one after his pit stop.
The fact that Bartush isn't hemorrhaging time to De Bono, right? I would imagine that Bartush is still just pushing. So if Ferguson is able to fuel save a little bit...
Last lap was his fastest lap of the race. He did a 1:21.5. Ferguson, for example, his fast lap 1:21.59. His last lap, a 1:22.5. So he is saving some fuel.
Yeah, I guess every little bit counts. Then these machines don't chew up anywhere near as much fuel as, say, like a V8 or a GT3 or something like that. So every little drop counts in these little whips. But you know, it'll be interesting to see if Ferguson can actually get it done if the cards fall his way. And yeah, Bartush, there's that Kanitska that's now entering the pit. So be interested. Oh, actually, we'll have to keep an eye on and see if Kanitska comes out in front of De Bono or not, and how that bodes for Gallo when he pits in the next couple of laps, perhaps.
Well, De Bono's coming round the final corner now. Kanitska's just gone into the pit box. He's now dropped. It's going to be tight on exit. Kanitska's out ahead of De Bono, but De Bono is going to have the run down towards turn 3. Should get the job done. Down here under brakes, and Kanitska's blinking like all heck. Has to let him go. De Bono on the warmer tyres, and the run into the corner claims provisional lead as Cowan brings the car into pit lane for his scheduled stop, promoting Ferguson to P2 of the Pro-Am.
It was like a sitting duck there, wasn't he, Kanitska? Like, he's coming out of pits trying to get up to speed as quick as possible, but De Bono was just absolutely motoring around that corner and chased him down quite easily, and yeah, got that pass made.
He set the fastest first sector of the race as well, did De Bono, in that moment. So even having to get past Kanitska, he set the fastest first sector. That is ridiculous from De Bono that time. By Wakefield and Rowan now into pit lane, and now promotes Johnston up to P2 in the amateurs. In fact, he pitted on lap 7. He might be able to get home as Gallo brings the car into pit lane as well. So we'll keep an eye on De Bono and Kanitska to see where Gallo comes out in comparison, as well as Gowans, and I assume Katakazinos will come in fairly shortly as well.
Yeah, if we've just seen what we just saw before with Gallo probably coming out behind Kanitska, I'd imagine. If De Bono's just pushing out to a second in front of now of Kanitska.
Gallo's out, he's right there. So De Bono, side by side, takes the lead of the race. Kanitska P3, so they've completely flipped here. Batum switch after the pit stop. So coming in the couple laps early has helped De Bono get into the clean air and push on forward up to the lead of this race. He just has to consolidate now, not push too hard, and he should be a race winner here tonight. But Gallo and Kanitska are going to put all sorts of pressure on him for the win of this race. Bartish leads the Pro-Am. Gowans inside the 5. Katakazinos just outside and behind his teammate. Ferguson and Ratcliffe make up the Pro-Am podium. Rosanita leads the amateurs with Johnston and Rowe on the podium.
I guess Kanitska will be hoping Gallo can really get onto the back of De Bono nice and quickly now, not let him jump out too far, so he can kind of get towed along, or hopefully the front two battle a little bit more. Kanitska can, sneak up on him and try and make some time back. But unless De Bono, he's pretty good at leading from the front. He's just got to keep it clean, keep it, clinical, and finish this race in P1.
What's that a change for P2 in the Pro-Am? Ratcliffe's now gotten past Ferguson at this stage. Bartish still leading them though, but showing no signs of fuel saving ahead of Doug Gowans at the moment. And this is going to be an interesting run home for them, as we have less than 10 minutes to go, Hutto. 7 minutes, in fact, left to run in this race. As De Bono, Gallo's had a moment down there at turn 3. Kanitska's now gotten past him. De Bono, though, staying in the lead of this race, but the gap has now started to spread like butter a little bit. It is gone out to quite an extent of about a second between De Bono and Kanitska.
Well, we know De Bono can pull away quite quickly from a pack. He's got that drive. He, pulls on a leash like a dog sort of thing. He just wants to go and go and go. It's just the little lapses he has from time to time, which just brings it all undone, unfortunately. But, fingers crossed he can keep it clean and bring this one home.
Well, further back, closest battle on track at the moment is Ferguson and Ratcliffe. This is a battle for P2 in the Pro-Am and for P7 on the road. Tightest battle we have left out there on lap 23 of this race. 34 minutes just about into this one, so we're very close to no more safety car territory as Doug Gowans has had a moment at Continental Corner and he's spun round.
On-board shot, you'd be hoping that he's, the tail end wouldn't have got clipped then. Oh, no nose. Or sore nose for Mr.
That car's had a rhinoplasty, unfortunately, at Continental Corner. Not just tyres from Continental, they now do nose jobs as well. Oh, that was horrible, I know. So Ratcliffe now still sits right ahead of Ferguson. That's now taking Gowans out of the contention for this race. Unfortunate for him, he had a very good run to this point, but the gap has now started to spread between the Velocity SimLabs car and the VRT car of Ratcliffe and Ferguson. And the two teams we expect to see battling for that Pro-Am title next season with no Brooke in the Pro-Am field. But at the moment, what would be the highest contested class, I think we can easily argue, Hutto, is currently being led by De Bono, where there's around about 5 or 6 teams who have drivers in this pro field who could snatch up a title next season. A couple of multiple-time champions in there, a couple of drivers who've always been the bridesmaid, never the bride, namely Dylan De Bono, possibly Michael Cuttajar if he were to join the field next season once again. And then some former champions too, like Dave Roberts, as well as Daniel Byrne as well, and even Jay Dixon. So this is going to be highly contested. I'm so excited for next season. We've got about 4.5 minutes to go, Hutto. Not long to go now for De Bono to claim a win here tonight and do what he would have hoped to have done last week at Silverstone.
Yeah, I don't think he'd want to be reminded of it. It was just, look, that race was fantastic. It was an absolute gut-wrenching what happened to the SRW stable. Just, big hit in net code, and we can't do much else about that. But look, that next one that comes along at the end of Season 4, it is going to be magical once again.
Ratcliffe's just come through the lane and done like a 0.93 second stop.
Perhaps he short-filled on his pit stop halfway through the race. Would that have even given him any fuel? He stopped and then just went straight away. Well, I don't think it would have been serving a penalty, but yeah, unsure about that one. Quite odd.
Very odd. That's now promoted Ferguson up to P2 in the Pro-Am field. Bartish, though, still leads the way. De Bono leads this race in full, though. 36.5 minutes into this one. A hell of a gap. 2.3 seconds from De Bono back to Konitska. And the number of laps left in this one, a handful, in fact. Konitska and Gallo battling in behind. As De Bono's pushing hard through 3. He caught a lot of curb then. Very lucky not to get it into the wall. He needs to be careful over these last couple laps, so he doesn't push it too hard and end up in the wars.
Thing like we've touched on just before, he's just got to keep it clean. That's all he needs to do.
That's all is required of Dylan De Bono at this stage in the lead. A driver who we've been waiting to see if he could win a title at some point. Ratcliffe's back in the lane.
And again.
What has happened? So, did he have a penalty maybe? He hasn't served it correctly? That's weird.
More of a pit stop.
Yeah, that's really weird. Oh well, some things are just meant to be left unanswered, I think. 37 minutes, 50 seconds. So 2 minutes left, 2 laps left of this race before De Bono would be classified the victor of the F1 Shadow Series feature race. Would he win the round? I think he would. He was he up there for race 1?
Double check the results.
Konitska and Gallo still battling for P2 on the road. Bartish actually may even have a hand on the round win trophy. Actually, P4 on the road, P1 in race number 1.
Well, De Bono was P2. Sorry, no, that's. Oh, he started P1. Oh, no, that's right. He had that contact with Gallo at the exit of T1, T2. So, anyway, all these points still go towards the Formula One Shadow round or Formula One Shadow Series Championship. Yeah, I guess the drivers that have come out this week, you know, make up a few points here and there as we get towards the pointy end of the season. Only 6 more rounds remaining for the F1 Shadow Series, with I guess 3 triple headers ahead of us, being round 2, 3, 4, and 7, 8, 9.
It's making up the majority of our championship next season is the F1 Shadow Series. Only 3 regular rounds. Oh, Kanitska's gone round at turn 2!
Absolute blessing for Gallo.
Oh, Bardish has had to come in the pit lane! So he hasn't saved fuel. He's had to bring it in. Where is Ferguson? De Bono's also lost the lead of the race to Gallo. What has happened on this last lap of the race?
Oh, madness ensures. But I guess that's just shaking it all up. Ferguson coming around the last couple of corners. He should come out in front of Bardish just now.
He's right there. He's on the exit. There's Ferguson. He rockets past him. The fuel save has managed to get him back into the lead of the Pro-Am after having a moment at the very start of this race. Only 40 minutes ago was Ferguson parked up behind Hodgkinson when he spun it round at turn 1, 2.
Been a tremendous effort by Ferguson, isn't it? You know, save that little bit of fuel, just get that one last lap, and what most drivers weren't able to do this race, unfortunately.
Gallo, though, round the final couple of corners up towards the line. He's going to take another win for himself here in the F1 Shadow Series. He takes home the feature race win for Carlin's Motorsport. De Bono P2. Kanitska, he's going to come home in P3 if he keeps it clean through the final couple of corners. He gave up P2 on the road, which could have been P1, seeing as Gallo got past De Bono. He comes home. The battle for the Pro-Am win is on through Continental Corner. Literally a whisper between them at the moment for Ferguson and Bartish. Bartish, who won overall in weight in race 1 here tonight, could have been on for a round win if he'd saved the fuel throughout the proceedings. Ferguson, by 0.1 of a second, is going to come across the line, and he's going to take the win with barely anything in the car. 0.06 of a second was the gap across the line with an absolute cough from the fuel tank. Ferguson takes the win from Bartish. Rosanita takes home the win for the amateurs. Rowan Wakefield were having a good battle on the way home too, but Gallo, unexpectedly, we thought it was De Bono's to lock in, but has it happened again, Hutto? Has he had a mistake and it's cost him the win?
Unfortunately, it's just De Bono doing De Bono things once again. We hate to say it and see it, but it happens more often than not. And I really hope he can kind of shake it and just get these results that he needs to, because he is a very, very fast driver and he can definitely take it to the likes of Phil Vella and Cuttajar. So to see him, come unstuck from his own efforts again is just, it's a little disappointing for me.
Well, it was an exceptional run home for these drivers here tonight. We're not sure if any of them will be coming over chat to us, if it was the amateur winner, the Pro-Am winner, or the top 3. But provisional race results on your screen now for the feature race, with David Gallo home P1 for Carlin's Motorsport. Dylan De Bono comes home P2 for Velocity Sim Labs. Marcus Kanitska home in P3 for Pace Syndicate. Sam Katakazinis then make up the top 4, with Jordan Ferguson taking his first class victory in Pro-Ams for Velocity Racing Team in P5, ahead of ETS Motorsport Stan Bartish by 0.066 of a second over the line for the Pro-Am win. Callum Rosanito, as his last drive as a privateer, will come home as an amateur winner on the road, with Andrew Cowan in behind, as well as Doug Gowans and Greg Johnston making up the top 10. That might be Jono's first ever top 10 finish, Hutto. We'll have to check on that stat. Ratcliffe, Rowe, Wakefield will come home as the last runners, with Vernie, Sinkovich, Hodgkinson out of this race. Davidson and Depp never got started across the evening.
Well, Hamish, what a race. I guess, a cat amongst the pigeons there for the results. You know, we saw not an upset, but like Dan Barchis, the surprise winner of race 1. Heartbreak again for DeBono, and Gallo takes the chocolates in race 2, and I guess Jordan Ferguson chalks up his first Pro-Am win. So yeah, good to see a bit of change at the top there.
We have got Mr. Ferguson in the green room, and I know he was happy to take this round win. We'll drag him in for a quick chat momentarily. Mr. Ferguson, accent and all, you take home your first ever class win here on Wednesday Night Super Formula Championship in the Pro-Am field. 0.066, is that just now a magical number in your head? Because that's what you won that race with, is you coughed it over the line.
I felt quite lucky actually. Considering that Dan was following me up pretty out of nowhere. So I'm feeling very privileged.
I guess Jordan, when was it that you realised that you had to start fuel saving? Well, it looked like you were fuel saving from up here in the comm box. At what point of the race were you like, oh, I might be a lap or two short? When did you have to make that decision?
I reckon it was about 30 minutes into the race, and I looked at my fuel levels, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I've got enough to finish the race. And then I was sort of like, lifting and coasting a lot into a lot of the big corners. So, probably about 3/4 into the race, I reckon.
Yeah, nice, good work. And I guess were you keeping an eye on Dan Bartish, which was, a couple cars in front of you? He wasn't, I guess, gapping you by too much, but I guess was that in the back of your mind as well, and you were just hoping that he'd have to pit and pop out behind you?
I wasn't sure with Dan because unfortunately on my overlays it didn't show what class he was in, so I wasn't sure if I was battling for him for P1 in class or not. So once I realised, I was very happy, but I was sort of keeping an eye on him, but I wasn't sure as well.
Good job. And I guess, Jordan, we saw your debut, I think it was, 2 seasons ago, and you've raced, done a little bit of racing with us now. Now that we have the Australian Open Wheel Nationals, does that change how you approach Season 4, or what sort of goals do you set yourself going into this new season?
Sort of goals are just do as well as I can possibly do. At the end of the day, it's just perform as well as I can.
Very good, I guess. Yeah, most drivers have the same mindset as yourself. Just give you their best performance out on track and let the race come to you as such. And if the results fall your way, then so be it. But a tremendous race by you with a bit of a strategy with the fuel. Hamish, you got anything for our Pro-Am winner?
Oh well, Jordan, long-time friend of mine now. Let us know, helps get you and Velocity Racing team out on track. And anyone else you wish to give a shout out to as well, you get me.
Oh, yeah, you get me. No, just the boys at Velocity, basically, in Cheeky Square, and, Jack and all the boys who keep me competitive, really.
Oh, mate, it's been an exceptional run home for yourself. Congratulations on your first class win. Looking forward to seeing how you go in Season 4 when you join us on track once again. Best of luck for round 1 next season. Enjoy the week off, and we'll see how you go when we return at the start of October.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Well, Hutto, you ready for a week off?
Mate, I've been praying for a week off since the Australian Open Wheel Nationals. Like, that was an absolute climatic race. When we remind, I guess we'll remind that we had another race to do last week. It was like, it's been such a long season, a very exciting season. And then we have the Australian Open Wheels on top of that, and then we had another round. It's like, I'm praying for the week. But look, we have our week off this week, and then we dive deep into Season 4, which kicks off at Road America, I'm pretty sure. No, sorry, Road Atlanta. Correction, Road Atlanta.
We're on the road to Season 4 nonetheless, and it's going to be a massive start to the season, Hutto. I am so looking forward to it, to call the action with you once again, to continue to try and improve this show as best we can is going to be an absolute honour. Sign-ups are open for next season, of course. All you need to be is a registered and subscribed SRW member to come and race with us here for Super Formula Championship. You do so by heading over to www.simracingworld.com.au, that being www.simracingworld.com.au is also linked in the description of the stream. Be sure to go register as a driver and pay your subs. Get in with us next season. The only series that you do not need to be a subscriber for is to race with us in the Legends World Challenge on the Friday night. You must only be a registered SRW driver to race in that one. Next season is a massive season coming up. As I mentioned, sign-ups are open. Warren Brown Tools V8 Supercars Series returns on Tuesday nights. Cooler Master Super Formula Championships on Wednesdays. The Shannon's Insurance GR86 Nationals on the Thursday. The Legends World Challenge on the Friday. And then the Warren Brown Tools V8 Supercars Championship on Sunday. For anyone thinking about coming and racing on the Tuesday night, and if you're a fan of a certain English broadcaster on a Thursday, I can tell you right now, James Parfitt, Mr. JP, has signed up for Supercars on the Tuesday. He signed up for it this evening. So if you're thinking about coming to racing on Tuesday Supercars and you want to maybe get your shoulders out and maybe give JP a little bit of a balking, then come race on the Tuesday nights with us here for the Warren Brown Tools Supercars Series. But I've been Hamish Munro alongside Brad Hudson once again. This has been the Cooler Master F1 Shadow Series Round 18 for season 2024, where David Gallo has taken out the overall victory, with Jordan Ferguson in the Pro-Am winning seat and Callum Rosenether in the amateur winning seat. But until next time, enjoy your week off. We'll see you guys next week for round number 1 as of the 8th of October, Tuesday the 8th of October for the first round. But until then, stay safe, drive hard, and as always, bye for now.
This is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Moskin and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because, tell you what, Bruce Tanak and Jamie Dyke just absolutely